Namaste to everyone. I welcome you all to the book study session organized by Healers of Light. So, today is day 9, and we will be covering chapter 8 of Autobiography of a Yogi. And I hope you all are having great experience of this book reading session. And yes, you're open to give your feedbacks, your comments. So, let's begin with chapter 9. Sorry, chapter 8, day 9. India's great scientist J.C. Bose. Jagdish Chandra Bose wireless invention antedated those of Marconi. Overhearing this provocative remark, I walked closer to a sidewalk group of professors engaged in scientific discussion. Overhearing this provocative remark, I walked closer to a sidewalk group of professors engaged in scientific discussion. If my motive in joining them was racial pride, I regret it. I cannot deny my keen interest in evidence that India can play a leading part in physics and not metaphysics alone. What do you mean, sir? The professor obliquely explained. Bose was the first one to invent wireless corer and an instrument for indicating the diffraction of electric waves. But the Indian scientist did not exploit this invention commercially. He soon turned his attention from inorganic to organic world. His revolutionary discoveries as plant physiologist are outpacing even his radical achievements as a physicist. I politely thanked my mentor. He added, "The great scientist is one of my brother professors at Presidency College." I paid a visit the next day to the sage at his home, which was close to mine on Gurpur Road. I had long admired him from a respectful distance. The grave and retiring botanist greeted me graciously. He was handsome, robust man in his 50s, with thick hair, broad forehead, and the abstracted eyes of a dreamer. The precision in his tone revealed the lifelong scientific habit. I have recently returned from an expedition to scientific societies of the West. Their members exhibited intense interest in delicate instruments of my invention, which demonstrated the indivisible unity of life. The Bose crescograph has the enormity of 10 billion magnification. The microscope enlarges only a few thousand times. Yet it brought vital impetus to biological science. The crescograph opens incalculable vistas. So over here, uh, we are talking about Jagdish Chandra Bose. He was the inventor of wireless invention antedated those of Marconi. So now he invented a lot of things, but during those time, India was not able to showcase so much of his inventions, but that did not make him a less, competent inventor, scientist. So over here we have seen that he invented one of his invent was wireless scorer, and an instrument for indicating the rare fraction of electric waves. And after this, soon he turned his attention from inorganic to organic world. And over there, he developed a microscope. And yes, he was then his, talent was appreciated in the West, and they were like, they showed keen interest in his invention. You have done so much, sir, to hasten the embrace of East and West in the impersonal arms of science. I was educated at Cambridge. How admirable is the West method of submitting all theory to scrupulous experimental verification. That empirical procedure has gone hand in hand with the gift of introspection, which is my Eastern heritage. Together, they have enabled me to sunder the silences of natural realms, long uncommunicative. The telltale charts of my crescograph are evidence for the most skeptical that plants have a sensitive nervous system and a varied emotional life. Love, hate, joy, fear, pleasure, pain, excitability, stupor, and countless appropriate responses to stimuli are universal in plants and in animals. So now he's saying that the best thing about West is that they always do the experimental verification. They just don't accept the theory. They always do this experimental verification, which proves that these things work. So now over here, he's saying that love, hate, joy, fear, pleasure, pain, excitability, all these means plants and animals show response to these things. The unique throb of life in all creation could seem only poetic imaginary before your advent, Professor. A saint I once knew would never pluck flowers. Shall I rob the rose bush of its pride in beauty? Shall I cruelly affront its dignity by my rude divestment? His sympathetic words are verified literally through your discoveries. The poet is intimate with the truth, while the scientist approaches awkwardly. Come someday to my laboratory and see the unequivocable testimony of crescograph. Gratefully, I accepted the invitation and took my departure. I heard later that the botanist had left Presidency College and was planning a research center in Calcutta. So, as we have seen, that he was studying in Presidency College, but later on he decided to leave Presidency College and planning a research center in Calcutta. So, yes, over here we can just see what is crescograph. So, so crescograph. Yes. Crescograph was invented by J.C.BOSE. And let's see how does it look. Okay. It is a device for measuring growth in plants. Okay, this is the image. Over here. This device was invented by Jagdish Chandra Bose. Crescograph. Okay, let's continue. So when over here, let's continue. When the Bose Institute was opened, I attended the dedicatory services. Enthusiastic hundreds strolled over the premises. I was charmed with the artistry and spiritual symbolism of the new home of science. Its front gate, I noted, was centuried relic from a distant shrine. Behind the lotus fountain, a sculpted female figure with a torch conveyed the Indian respect for woman as immortal light bearer. The garden held a small temple consecrated with a noumenon beyond phenomena. Thought of the divine incorporatory was suggested by absence of any altar image. I think in this PDF, his photo is, yeah, Jagdish Chandra Bose, India's great physicist, botanist, inventor of crescograph. Bose's speech on his great occasion might have issued from the lips of one of the inspired ancient rishis. I dedicate today this institute as not merely a laboratory but a temple. His reverent solemnity stole like an unseen cloak over the crowded auditorium. In pursuit of my investigation, I was unconsciously led into the border region of physics and physiology. To my amazement, I found boundary lines vanishing and points of contact emerging between the realms of the living and non-living. Inorganic matter was perceived as anything but inert. It was a thrill under the action of multitudinous forces. A universal reaction seemed to bring metal, plant, and animal under a common law. They all exhibited essentially the same phenomena of fatigue, depression, with possibilities of recovery and of exaltation, as well as the permanent irresponsiveness associated with death. Filled with awe at this stupendous generalization, it was with the great hope that I announced myself before the Royal Society, results demonstrated by experiments. But the physiologist present advised me to confine myself to physics in physical investigation, in which my success had been assured. Rather than encroach on their preserves, I had unwittingly strayed in the domain of an unfamiliar caste system and so offended its etiquette. So over here, he is giving his speech. He has opened his research center, and he is telling that his research center is not just a research center; it is a temple for him. And over here, you've seen his construction was like that. There was a lady with a torch. That was the construction, which indicated over here. I think it was, yeah. I noted behind the lotus fountain, a sculpted female figure with a torch conveyed the Indian respect for woman as immortal light bearer. And there was a small temple also in the garden. Okay. An unconscious theological bias was also present, which confound ignorance with faith. It is often forgotten that he who surrounded us with this ever evolving mystery of creation has also implanted in us the desire to question and understand. Through many years of miscomprehension, I came to know that the life of a devotee of science is inevitably filled with unending struggle. It is for him to cast his life as an ardent offering regarding uh, gain and loss, success and failure as one. So now he's saying that, everything, every creation, evolving mystery of creation has been implanted in us, means that the desire which we have, it is all implanted and to understand. And it is very important for us to question those things. So this is how science has evolved, and he's telling that the devotee of science means people who are very inclined to invention, scientists, they have an inevitably their life is an inevitable struggle. unending struggle. It is for him to cast his life as an ardent offering. He's, you might have often seen in movies also that he's a person of science. He has devoted himself to science. So, what scientists do, you might have seen in some like autobiography of some scientist. Movies are also made on these scientists. Like, regardless of gain and loss, regardless of success and failure, they keep on practicing. They keep on doing it. Yeah, that movie Mangalyan, regardless of gain and loss, success and failure, means they were having back to back failures, so they kept on trying. Lot of funds were going, but still they were trying. So once a person is a devotee of science, his life is, he's telling, is an unending struggle. He will keep on doing innovation, he will keep on doing things. In the time, the leading scientific societies of the world accepted my theories and results and recognized the importance of the Indian contribution to science. Can anything small or circumscribed ever satisfy the mind of India? By continuous living tradition and vital power of rejuvenescence, this land has readjusted itself through unnumbered transformation. Indians have always arisen who, discarding the immediate and absorbing prize of the hour, have sought of the realization of the highest ideals in life, not through passive renunciation, but through active struggle. The weakling who has refused the conflict, acquiring nothing, has had nothing to renounce. He alone who has striven and won can enrich the world by bestowing the fruits of his victorious experience. Over here, he's saying that, the weakling, people who have refused conflict, so they have not acquired anything. Now, how conflict starts? When you do question and answer, rather than blindly accepting things, you question answer think, you put on the logics, then only you'll understand something. But alone, if like people who have not got into this process, so they have not got anything in life. He alone has striven and won can enrich the world by bestowing the fruits of his victorious experience. People who question, people who try new things, people who do new things, they have experiences, they gain experiences, and they do something new in life. They are moving people. And people who are still who don't do anything, like, they don't try things, they don't think about new things, they don't question things. Such kind of people are like, they are like people with zero value, you can say. They're not questioning anything, they're not doing anything. uh, Rather than tagging them as lazy people, we can say they are just like, they're not adding value to their lives. The work already carried out in the Bose laboratory. So, yes, now let's continue. The work already carried out in the Bose laboratory on the response of matter and the unexpected revelation in plant life have opened out very extended regions of inquiry in physics and in physiology, in medicine, in agriculture, and even in psychology. Problems hitherto regarded as insoluble have now been brought within the sphere of experimental investigation. But high success is not to be obtained without rigid exactitude. Hence, the long battery of supersensitive instruments and apparatus of my design, which stand before you today in their class in the entrance hall. They tell you of the protracted efforts to get behind the deceptive seeming into the reality that remains unseen, of continuous toil and persistence and resourcefulness called forth to overcome human limitation. All creative scientists know that the true laboratory is the mind, where behind illusion they uncover the law of truth. The lecture given here will not be mere repetition of second-hand knowledge. They will announce new discovery demonstrated for the first time in these halls, So now he's telling about his college, that research center he has made. Over here, he's saying that, scientists, the creative scientists have a, their actual laboratory is their mind. And like behind every illusion, you can say they say, no, they should make this, or they should try these things. So he's saying that where behind illusion, they uncover the law of truth. And he's saying that, over here lectures will not be just repetition, but these halls will be for new discoveries. Through regular publication of their work of institute, these Indian contribution will reach the whole world. They will become public property. No patent will ever be taken. The spirit of a national culture demands that we should forever be free from discretion of utilizing knowledge only for personal gain. It is my further wish that the faculties of this institute be available so far as possible to workers from all countries. In this, I am attempting to carry on the traditions of my country. So far back as 25 centuries, India welcomed to its ancient universities at Nalanda, Takshila, scholars from all parts of the world. Although science is neither of East nor of West, but rather international in its universality, yet India is specially fitted to make great contribution. The burning Indian imagination, which can extort new order out of mass of apparently contradictory facts, is held in checks by the habit of concentration. This restraint confers the power to hold the mind to pursuit of truth with infinite patience. So it is, all that we are studying is his speech. So here he is saying that, he is giving the speech at his center, that it science is not of East or of West; it is international. Yet India is specially fitted to make great contributions. The burning Indian imagination, which can extort new orders out of mass apparently contradictory facts, is held in check by the habit of concentration. So he's saying, that, the India will make great contribution because of the burning Indian imagination and, the great power of concentration. Tears stood in my eyes at the scientist's concluding words. Is patience not indeed a synonym of India, confounding time and the historians alike? So his last line was, this restraint confers the power to hold the mind to the pursuit of truth with an infinite patience. Means the truth will come out, but it requires lot of infinite patience. Over here in J.C.BOSE context, it means like, while doing innovation, while discovering new things, you know the truth, but how it will come out, how new things will get innovated or invented, it will come through infinite patience. And then, to that, Guruji has said that patience indeed, for India, patience is, again something, which India has a good experience. I visited the research center again soon after the day opening. The great botanist, mindful of his promise, took me to the quiet laboratory. I will attach the crescograph of his fern. The magnification is tremendous. If a snail crawls were enlarged in the same proportion, the creature would appear to be traveling like an express train. So now he's saying that, under the crescograph, if the snail is crawling, but in the crescograph, it will look like he's walking, he's traveling like an express train. My gaze fixed eagerly on the screen, which reflected the magnified fern shadow. Minute life movements were now clearly perceptible. The plant was growing very slowly before my fascinated eyes. The scientist touched the tip of his fern with a small metal bar. The developing pantomime came to an abrupt halt, resuming the eloquent rhythms as soon as the rod was withdrawn. So there the measurement was taken of the fern. You saw how any slight outside interference is detrimental to the sensitive tissue. Bose remarked, "Watch, I will now administer chloroform and then give an antidote." I think this is a little big chapter. Yeah. Okay. Now, over here, he's saying that watch now. Over here. Watch now. I now administer chloroform and then give an antidote. The effect of chloroform continued all growth. The antidote was reviving. The evolutionary gestures on the screen, the where am- the evolutionary gestures on the screen held me more ratly than a movie plot. My companion, here in the role of villain, thrust a sharp instrument through the part of fern. Pain was indicated by spasmodic flutter. When he passed a razor partially through the stem, the shadow was violently agitated, then stilled itself with final punctuation of death. By by first chloroforming a huge tree, I achieved a success transplantation. Usually, such a monarch of forest die very quickly after being moved. Jagdish smiled happily as he recounted the life-saving maneuver. Graphs of my delicate apparatus have proved that trees possess a circulatory system. Their movement correspond to blood pressure of animal body. Okay, now he's saying that his invention crescograph that his graph also indicated that there was a circulatory system which was possessed by a tree, and their sap correspond to the blood pressure of animal bodies. So if the animal is moving around them, so it corresponds to that also. The ascent of sap is not explicable on the mechanical ground ordinary advance such as capillary attraction. The phenomenon has been solved through crescograph as the activity of living cell. Peristaltic waves issue from cylindrical tube which extends down a tree and serves as an actual heart. The more deeply we perceive, the more striking becomes the evidence that a uniform plan links every form in manifold nature. The great scientist pointed to another Bose instrument. "I will show you experiments on a piece of tin. The life force in metal responds adversely or beneficially to stimuli. Ink marking will register various reactions." So now he is telling like in metals how life force and metal responds. So it will be showing with ink marking will register the various reaction. I think the graph. Deeply engrossed, I watched the graph which recorded the characteristic waves of atomic structure. When the professor applied chloroform to tin, the vibratory writing stopped. Just give me a minute.